Okay, so today we are tackling a big one, a book that's probably one of the most influential and, let's be honest, controversial personal finance books ever written. Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad, Poor Dad. This book, it sold millions of copies for a reason. It basically takes everything we're taught about money, the whole get a good job thing, and flips it completely on its head.
And this quote right here, this is the whole ballgame. The poor and middle class work for money. The rich have money work for them. Now, that might sound simple, but it is the absolute foundation of the entire book. It's this really radical idea that says, hey, that path you were told to follow, go to school, get a safe job, save, that's not the path to wealth. It's actually a trap. The goal isn't about working harder and harder for a bigger paycheck. No. The goal is to get your money to work for you.
So, how in the world did he come up with this stuff? Well, Kiyosaki frames his entire philosophy through this incredible story of his two dads. You've got his real father, who he calls his poor dad, and then there's his best friend's father, his rich dad. And let me tell you, the advice they gave him and where they ended up in life could not have been more different. Just look at this breakdown. The contrast is just, wow. His poor dad did everything right, everything we're told to do. He had a PhD, a great, stable government job, a high salary, but somehow he was always struggling with money. Now, Rich Dad, he barely finished the 8th grade, but he went on to become a business owner, an investor, and one of the richest guys in Hawaii. So it gives. It wasn't about how much money they made, and it definitely wasn't about grades. It all came down to their financial mindset. And this right here, this is such a perfect example of that mindset difference. Poor Dad would say, I can't afford it. And that's it. It's a statement. It's a full stop. It literally shuts your brain down. But Rich Dad, he would ask a question. How can I afford it? And that changes everything. It's like flipping a switch in your brain. Suddenly you're not defeated. You're problem solving. You're looking for ways, for possibilities. Just that simple shift from a statement to a question is like step one to thinking like the wealthy. Okay, so that mindset we just talked about, it leads us directly into what Kiyosaki says is the most important lesson in the whole book. Seriously, it's something you almost never learn in school, and it's all about truly understanding the difference between an asset and a liability. And here's the kicker. He says the way most of us define them is totally, dangerously wrong. So forget all those complicated definitions you might have heard in an accounting class. Rich Dad's definition of an asset is just beautifully simple. An asset is anything that puts money in your pocket. That's it. Does it generate cash flow for you? Does it pay you? If the answer is yes, congratulations, it's an asset. End of story. And you guessed it, a liability is the exact opposite. It's anything that takes money out of your pocket. It doesn't matter if you own it. What matters is the direction the cash is flowing. If you have something that costs you money every single month just to keep it, well, in the Rich Dad world, that's a liability. The cash flow is king here. It's all that matters. So let's make this super practical. What are we talking about here? On the asset side, you've got things like real estate that pays you rent, stocks that pay you dividends, or a business that runs without you having to be there 24/7. Now look at the liability column. These are the things that most people think are assets, and that's the trap. Your mortgage, your car loan, credit card debt. These things are just constantly pulling money away from you, which is exactly what keeps you chained to that 9-to-5 job. And understanding this difference, this is your ticket out of what he famously calls the rat race. And you know what that is, right? It's that exhausting, endless cycle of get up, go to work, earn a paycheck, pay the bills, and then you have just enough left to do it all over again next month. You're running and running, but never actually getting anywhere. The whole point is to stop being just an earner and start becoming an owner. So what's the game plan? It's actually really simple. The goal for financial freedom isn't to get a huge raise, though that can help. The real goal is to use the money you do have to buy more assets. That's it. You focus on building that asset column piece by piece. You just keep buying things that put money back in your pocket until, and this is the magic moment, the income from all your assets is more than your total expenses. Once you hit that point, you're financially free. You don't have to work anymore. Your money is officially working for you. So he actually lays out a pretty clear 4-step path to get there. First, you've got to get those definitions of asset and liability tattooed on your brain. Master them. Second, your main financial goal becomes buying assets. That's where your extra money goes. Third, and I love this one, he says to mind your own business, which doesn't mean be nosy. It means keep your day job to pay the bills, but on the side, you are building your business, which is your asset column. And finally, this is so important. Work to learn, not just to earn. Pick jobs based on the skills you'll get, like sales or marketing, not just the salary, because those skills are what you'll use to build real wealth. When you really look at it, all these strategies, all these definitions, they all circle back to one single thing: your mindset, right? The tools themselves are actually pretty simple, but using them, that takes a complete, fundamental shift in how you think about money, about risk, and even about what it means to be educated. So let's just recap some of these core rich dad beliefs. First, your greatest asset isn't your stuff, it's what you know. It's your financial literacy. On the flip side, your biggest liabilities are your own fear and your own self-doubt. The rich, they aren't just rolling the dice. They take calculated risks because they're educated. And then there's the absolute game-changer habit. Pay yourself first. This means before you pay your landlord, your credit card, anyone, you take a piece of your income and you pay yourself by putting it straight into your asset column. You invest first. And that brings us to maybe the most controversial, most thought-provoking question in the entire book. And I want you to really think about this one. Using the definitions we just talked about, puts money in your pocket versus takes money out, is your home, the place you live in, really your biggest asset? Or, with the mortgage, the taxes, the upkeep, is it actually your biggest liability? And that question really gets to the heart of it all. The ultimate takeaway from Rich Dad, Poor Dad isn't complicated. It's this. It's not about how much money you make, it's about how much money you keep and put to work. A huge salary doesn't automatically make you wealthy. The real goal, the real measure of success, is how much of that money you can turn into an army of assets that work for you, day and night, to eventually buy your freedom.